Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello, wherever you are in Australia, in fact, around the world. Welcome to AusCERT 2021. How about a big round of applause just for the fact that we are here, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't it great to be back celebrating again with you everything that is excellent about cybersecurity in Australia and around the world? My name's Adam Spencer. I'm thrilled to be here as your MC. I genuinely love the AusCERT community and the chance to immerse myself in this fascinating world and learn from the very best is something I truly look forward to every year. But I'll be honest with you, as a full-time professional conference MC who works only in groups of 200 or more people, which has been pretty much illegal since March of last year, while I am thrilled to be here, I am just happy to be out of the bloody house, to be honest, at the moment. But I'm really looking forward to the next couple of days. You join us today on the beautiful Gold Coast, or as it is known, Yugambeh land. And here to welcome us to country, can we please have a big round of applause for the wonderful Stacie Fogarty.
I'd like to start off by acknowledging and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd also like to acknowledge all First Nations people here today. Jingri, Minyago, Jingiwalo, Naniniri Stacie, Jingri, Yugambeh, Jargon. Now what I just said to you in my language is welcome, hello, how are you? My name is Stacie and welcome to Yugambeh country. Good morning, my name is Stacie Fogarty and I'm a proud Malanjali woman from Bedezit, which is about 60 kilometres west of where we are today. I am a traditional custodian of these lands and I'm connected to these lands through my blood, birth and my ancestors. There are 8 different mobs who speak Yugambeh language and my mob is one of them. Yugambeh language lands stretch from the Tweed River south of us up to the Brisbane River north of us and as far west as Bedezit, encompassing our 5 rivers, the Logan River, the Albert River, the Coomera River, Nerang River and the Tweed River. My totems are Gullinini the waterhen and Mibin the wedge-tailed eagle, and my totems are there to protect me and guide me through life. It is tradition for Indigenous people to welcome other people into their land, and in doing so, paying your respects to the elders on whose land you're standing on. We do a welcome to country because we have over 400 borders sitting within what we call the Australia you see today. Respectfully, we would request permission to travel into another mob's country, permission to travel into another family's land, permission to travel into another tribe's land, and this tradition still continues with my welcome for you all. So when I say I welcome you to the lands of the Yugambeh speaking people, I welcome you to my home. And today I respectfully welcome you to my country and my family's country. In our culture, we don't say goodbye because goodbye is final. Instead, we say nanyabu, see you soon, because we hope that we cross paths here again someday. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of your day. Yahweh, thank you. Namaluwali, Kabil Jargon, embrace this beautiful country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stacie, for making us feel so welcome on this beautiful, beautiful land. AusCERT 2021, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't get much more 2021 than this. The very first note I've been given to give you here by the conference organisers before plugging the wonderful conference app or the gala dinner, the fun games and prize on offer, the very first thing I've been asked to say is, please use hand sanitizer located at the entry and exit points on each table throughout the day. It is actually quite important in the housekeeping today. Wherever possible, please maintain social distancing. You'll notice it with the arrangement of the chairs in the hall, for example. Try not to queue extensively in crowded little pinch points, exiting and entering venues. Take any rubbish with you at the end of each session. Place it in the bins at the back of the room. There's recycling and general waste bins there. And as you move around the conference during the day, catering breaks and the like, please take all your items with you. It's a great little setup we have here, but you can't set up a little virtual office just in the front row and not move for the next 48 hours. We rearrange the rooms, we move things around, that sort of stuff, and the STAR team will come through and refresh the venues and touch points in the course of the day. Observe any dedicated entry and exit points to the event centre. Whilst you're at the exhibition, please use those exit doors and follow directional signage marked on the floors at all time. In the unlikely event of an emergency, make your way to the nearest emergency exit. The primary assembly site is located in Bulletin Park on the corner of the Gold Coast Highway and T.E. Peters Drive. It's not as far away as it sounds. In the unlikely event of an emergency, we shall group there. There is a smoking area available outside on the terrace. Knock yourself out. Toilets are located just out there in the gallery, and just follow the instructions of the well-trained STAR people if you have any trouble at any time. Now, none of this applies to our virtual guests, of course, and I'm excited to say there are over 300 of you joining us online, wherever you might be in Australia or around the world. Sit back in your living room, in your bedroom, in your pajamas, we don't care. Just maintain as much or as little social distancing as you see fit over the next couple of days. Out of respect for all our presenters, please turn your phones to silent or any other noisy digital devices you may have. The vast bulk of you, I hope, have already installed the conference app. You can use that to send us potential questions for any of our speakers over the next couple of days. If time allows, at the end of each presentation, we'll have a brief Q&A. If you send through a question via the app for the appropriate session, it'll be moderated and put on the screen down here, and there's a chance it will be asked of the speaker if time permits. If you haven't got the app or you're having any trouble with it, speak to the Good Gems team at registration and they will help you out. The app, of course, will ask you to sign in. Now, the nature of this event and its audience, some of you are always a bit nervous giving up personal details. So if you want, you can just use my login and password, which is Big Boy Lover, what's up, 123456, eggplant emoji. Okay. Tough crowd, had to move on. Merchandise, please visit the registration desk to collect your shirt and conference bag, and make sure you visit the Lego booth, which is always one of the highlights of AusCERT. Quick show of hands if this is your first ever AusCERT. Who's here for the first time? Let's give the newbies a big round of applause. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Get down to the Lego booth to collect your Lego bird kit. There'll be a speed build during the gala dinner. Nothing says AusCERT to me like the fact that the gala dinner tonight's going to have a Lego speed build in the middle. So make sure you bring your Lego kit along to that. The conference hashtag is hashtag AusCERT2021. Get the message out there about this wonderful event. Conversations, photos, quotable quotes, spread the news. Hashtag AusCERT2021, whatever your social media of choice might be. Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Insta, Tinder, we don't care. Just get hashtag AusCERT2021 out there. And of course, one of the highlights of the next couple of days is the gala dinner. If you can no longer attend the gala dinner, please do us a big favour and let them know at the registration desk, because as always, it's a sold out event. There are people who are super keen to try and get in. So if you can't take a seat tonight, please go and cash it in at the front desk and allow someone else in. If, on the other hand, you'd like to go and you haven't secured a seat yet, go and let them know at the registration desk and we'll do everything we can. Tonight's gala dinner is a live event, so we won't need to prove that it's actually happening. So those of you who were here last year will be happy to know I'll be keeping my shirt on at this year's gala dinner. If you weren't there, don't even think about it. Now to kick us off and welcome us on behalf of AusCERT, an absolute double threat, these two, one of the great tag teams. I think Batman and Robin, Stacie and Hutch. I like to think of them as the Kath and Kim of cybersecurity in Australia. Please welcome David Stockdale and Mike Holm from AusCERT to welcome us all.
Guys, can I get my slides up, please? That's a good start, isn't it? But welcome everybody to AusCERT 2020. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my country. AusCERT acknowledges the traditional owners and the custodianship of the lands on which we meet. We pay our respects to their ancestors and their descendants who continue cultural and spiritual connections to the country. We recognise their valuable contributions to Australian and global society. So welcome to the 20th AusCERT annual conference. It's great to be here in person. We all missed last year. Obviously, it was a difficult time, but so many people have been saying how happy they are to be here. So welcome to everybody, those in person, and also those people who are participating remotely. And that's quite exciting that we're doing this as a hybrid event, because we've been able to attract people from all over the world for this one. So that's really good. So let's hope the experience for everybody is a great one. Let me start with, we're losing this battle. We're losing the battle against cybercrime, certainly. And just this week, we've seen critical infrastructure, the fuel pipeline in the US, shut down due to ransomware. Every week, we see disruption. No, let's be honest. Let's say we see catastrophic failures to our schools, our hospitals, our universities, and our businesses. In fact, generally to our lives, for those people who are affected directly by those. And then, of course, there was 2020. Not just did AusCERT have to go virtual, but many of us pivoted to working remotely. And that was a challenge. And maybe as cybersecurity professionals, maybe we actually crossed our fingers. To be honest, we probably crossed our fingers and hoped that the workforce and the businesses were going to be safe during that period. But they weren't really safe in a lot of instances. In the 2020 BDO AusCERT survey, the results showed us accidental disclosures during that year rise by 60%. We saw data breaches from malicious hacking rise by 90%. And we saw the establishment, I'm not saying the emergence, but the establishment of double ransomware. And we saw a devastating attack on supply chain, which is really, really concerning. And obviously, there's a few big cases of that we can think of. Things that, to some extent, were outside of our control. The FBI's Internet Crime Report detailed for last year detailed 69% increase in the number of complaints from the previous year. And they get a lot of complaints. And that's only the people who bother to actually register something. The reported losses from those registered was $4.1 billion US. And I say, that's only the people who reported it, forgetting about everybody else. And the other interesting thing about that report from the FBI was that Australia had the 5th highest number of victims in the world. So let's be honest, cyber criminals did not face the same issues that we did in 2020. They embraced that chaos and they pivoted in an agile way, in a very professional way, professional in terms of their outcomes in 2020, while we were all trying to make sure everything else was working. So what should we do about it? Well, it was interesting. I read an article from the World Economic Forum's gender website, caught my eye this week. And it said, cybersecurity is too big a job for governments or businesses to handle alone. And I think those people who have maybe been through some incidents recently have an expectation that that a particular party might be able to step in and help, another party might be able to do it. And a lot of them, somebody said to me yesterday, a lot of people are there, when you talk to people who are in the industry, they're there and they'll give you some advice, but they very rarely are able to deliver the solution for you to get you back up and running. So I think it's really important to how we plan. But that report also said, the important thing to do is share threat intelligence. And that's something I think that we're very passionate about. We need to share threat intelligence across sectors, within verticals in the sectors. We need to align our cyber education with the market needs. And of course, AusCERT is part of the University of Queensland, and I'm very passionate about the whole higher education community. And there's a lot of good things that are happening, but we need to make sure that's aligned with what the markets need. We need to sharpen incident response capabilities, because it's not if, but when. The reality is it's going to happen at some stage. And we need to build security by design. So those things are all fairly straightforward. I don't think we're all doing it, but they're fairly straightforward. But we at AusCERT believe there should be one more point made. Automate to scale. And one of my senior colleagues last week raised a very interesting point. And Jeff, who's in the audience, said to us, when cyber criminals scale, they fail. What does he mean by that? He means they attract too much attention. If they scale too far, they fail because they get the authority, they get visibility to authorities in such a big way, the authorities act. So we'll look at Emotet. And that was an example where it was taken down because of its scale. But when we scale, we can succeed. So welcome to the AusCERT 2020 conference, Soaring with Success. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this 20th anniversary conference. I literally can't believe it's been 20 years. I have missed, sadly, 6 of those years. But that gives you a bit of a clue, I suppose, to how old I am. And the early years, I suppose that was back in the day when travel budgets and things like that just didn't exist. So that's my excuse. Anyway, here we are. I know we've got a lot of luminaries and wonderful people here, but there's one I think I should call out. I can't see this person in the audience, but Professor Bill Cayley, the grandfather of cybersecurity, is with us at the moment, and I think that's just wonderful. One of my heroes. Anyway, this is one of the things we like about the AusCERT conference. We get to meet our heroes. Anyway, in our work this year, we obviously set a strategy like we always do, and we knew that we had to do something to improve what we're doing with cyber threat intelligence, CTI, if you want some acronyms. We knew we had to do something about incident response and increase that capability. So obviously soaring with cyber was born. That's why this theme was born, because obviously those two things go hand in hand with security orchestration, automation, and response. But we don't just make this stuff up. There was a method to our madness. We also had, for our third item in our strategy, engagement, you. So that's why we work at AusCERT. That's why we put on this show, because we like seeing you learn, benefit from the wonderful speakers that we have. And of course, in our work as a CERT, we enjoy helping you fight the good fight and beat the cybers. Anyway, for those of you who are new, if you don't know who we are, AusCERT is a not-for-profit. We're not government funded. In fact, everything you see here is funded by the generosity of our wonderful conference sponsors. So thank you for that. This doesn't happen without our sponsors. So please go and visit them. And of course, the work that we do as a CERT is funded by our members. And if you don't know already, our membership is every sector in this country, and we've got some from neighbouring countries as well. So usually it's about a third of education, a third of government, and a third obviously private. I think at the last count, our membership's just over 600 members. So that's who we are. Now, what I would suggest is if you could please come and meet the team. We have a booth out in the sponsor exhibition, and the team is all here. And this is one of the, oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. We actually have 2 people now working remotely, which is just amazing. In the old days, this sort of stuff wouldn't happen. There was a silver lining to the COVID cloud. So we now have a New Zealand branch, and we have a New South Wales branch of AusCERT as well. So welcome to those 2. I'm sure you're watching on the live stream. Anyway, the rest of the team is here, so please come and meet them. They're all wearing, oops, sorry, microphone. They're all wearing these AusCERT team shirts, so look for the navy shirt with the red AusCERT team. Tell them what you like or don't like. No, don't tell them that. Just tell them what you like about this event, and also talk to them about what you're doing. What sort of work are you doing? What's bugging you about cybersecurity? What can we do to help mitigate your threats? That's the team. One of the team, though, has been working really hard on something which I think has already been announced on social media, but I'll just put a quick plug in for it here. We'll have a podcast starting very soon, so keep an eye out for all of the tweets, LinkedIn messages. We're not on Tinder yet, but Adam has inspired us to do so. So have a look there, and you'll see we've got some episodes coming up on the podcast. Also, shameless plug. David mentioned that we work for the University of Queensland. There's some awesome staff benefits there. Hint, hint, hint. We are looking for infrastructure and developers at the moment. All right, let's talk a little bit about cyber threat intelligence. So we're in a lot of groups within our membership base, and some of those I can talk about freely, and others I can't, and that's okay. Now I'm just going to sidetrack on that concept for just a moment. So obviously certs for many, many years have operated on the principle of trust. So I give you a piece of intelligence, you use that intelligence to help protect your constituents, but you don't necessarily reveal the source of that information because that would not necessarily be the right thing. Now, that worked well for many years, but we moved on. Cybersecurity became everyone's responsibility. You'll hear my boss, Dr. David, mention cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility, and that's a good thing. But what that meant is that senior management then had to become, if not involved, they had to at least be aware. So imagine the situation where you're saying, as a CISO or a security analyst, you're saying to senior management, you need to be aware of this thing over here, but I can't tell you how or why I know about that. That added a whole layer of complexity to understanding how do I actually communicate to my superiors? How does my management expect me to communicate? Now, generations gone past, there was Chatham House rules. Google it if you don't know what that is. It's basically, you can listen to a conversation, you can take that information away, but you can't reveal the sources. That got a little bit more complicated, in my opinion at least, more recently, because as soon as all this automation and interconnected systems that had to all talk to each other, as soon as that came along, that concept got a little bit more complicated. So then we had the traffic light protocol, of course, and AusCERT's got a really good explanation of that on their website, so you can look that up. This whole sidetrack that I just went on there was to say, if you're having trouble with explaining yourself to your superiors, maybe point them in the direction of traffic light protocol and say, this is how it works in the CERT world or cybersecurity world, and this is why I can't necessarily talk about some of my sources. Anyway, back to cyber threat intelligence and what's going on in that. So we obviously, we're involved in quite a number of those groups, as I said. One of those groups that I can talk about is the Australian Higher Education Cybersecurity Service. Now, that is actually a not-for-profit organisation, just like us. It's run by CAUDIT, which is the Council of Australian Universities Directors, another not-for-profit. So here you have effectively an umbrella service sitting over a bunch of not-for-profits like us, delivering a cybersecurity service to a sector, to the higher education sector. Now, that's pretty unique. Yes, I'm aware there's other sort of umbrella groups within certain sectors, and there's some great stuff going on over at the JCSC to help with that. There's other areas where groups are actually trying to advance cybersecurity. But I don't believe that there is anything as effective as that particular group. So some of these pieces of information, I suppose, that we get, these come through to us from these groups, and obviously our goal in cyber threat intelligence is to analyse it, have a look at it, pass it on to you if that's appropriate. If it's not, we might have to look for another source somewhere and figure out what is the best way to get that information to you so that you can mitigate the threats that you're facing. So one of our roles in that AHEC service, the Australian Higher Education Cybersecurity Service, let me get that right. One of our roles in there, for the last couple of years, we've run the very successful Information Sharing and Analysis Centre, the CAUDIT ISAC as it's known. And our contribution into that is basically intelligence. Let me give an example. Our operations manager, Jeff, he'll get woken up at strange hours in the middle of the night because someone overseas, that's one of his other hats that he wears, the international liaison, someone overseas will have sent him a tip-off about something that's going to be a threat, and he'll wake up and maybe analyse it and stuff it into MISP so that it can be disseminated out to everybody in that Information Sharing and Analysis Centre. So we've done that for a number of years. I believe it's working really well. Again, come and talk to me if you don't think it is, we can improve. But what I'm getting to here, and this is it, so if you haven't listened to anything else I said, tune in now. This is my challenge. If you're in a sector that doesn't have something like AHECs in the higher education sector, this is your challenge. Go out, form a group. It's not hard. They did it in higher education. They did it with very little funding, I might add. Everyone remembers, depending on your generation, where you were when certain events happened. People before me, it'd be, the first person on the moon. For me, recently, it was, well, what happened during 2020, obviously. Like, no one will forget that. But imagine if you could say, where was I when I made a real difference to cybersecurity and we actually started doing something in our sector? Because, let's start small. Let's just start in one sector. Let's do something there. So imagine if you could come back and say, yeah, I made a difference right there. So that's my challenge to you all. Now, we have some amazing speakers lined up, and there's 4 of them are about to come up onto the stage very shortly. So sit back, enjoy, welcome. Thank you very much for coming in person, and thank you to the virtual land. I don't know where you are. Thank you for tuning in wherever you are, and enjoy the show. Yours.